everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to Always Receiving Nur's monthly lectures on Quranic wisdom. May we always be open to receiving the light of divine guidance, and may this guidance enlighten our hearts and transform our lives, inshallah. So Ramadan Mubarak, inshallah. And I'm sorry about both the technical delay and also because of the misunderstanding about the pattern of our lectures. As Isra reminded us, actually we started with once a month, and then we added in the tafsir study, the reading the surahs, but we kept the monthly lectures. So when it's the first Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever day we choose, we actually have a lecture. These lectures are actually all related to how we read the Quran. So they are not unrelated. It's almost like we choose a theme, and it's like an application of what we've been learning in the Quran, inshallah. So since we're in the month of Ramadan, I thought it may be a good idea to reflect on the significance of this month, inshallah. Generally speaking, I'm not talking about everyone, but in general, when we think of Ramadan, Muslims usually think of fasting. However, in the Quran, there is only one ayah where Ramadan is mentioned, and it is mentioned before mentioning the fast. Ramadan is introduced as the month of the Quran, or more precisely as the month in which the Quran was sent. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. So this ayah itself, it's actually a part of this ayah 185 of Surah al-Baqara, which is the second surah in the Quran. This ayah itself is sent to us now with guidance. It is saying that the Quran is sent with guidance during the month of Ramadan. Itself is ascending. So if it is sent with guidance, what is it guiding us to? In other words, how do we live the meaning of this ayah? How do we bring it into our life? How do we witness its truth and confirm it? Because, you know, when the Quran is read, maybe you heard, you were told, you say, Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So Sadaqallahu al-Azim means God speaks the truth. I confirm that this is true. And therefore it is speaking the word is only a reminder of actually performing the action. I cannot say God is speaking the truth when I have no idea whether it's the truth or not. It's like in the Shahada. The Shahada is witnessing that there is nothing worth worshipping except God, and that Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is the prophet of God. So this is usually we say the Shahada, but the original is an tashhada, that you witness that there is nothing worth worshipping but God. So it's something that I need to observe, to experience in my life, and then I can witness and say, this is true. And the same is true for this ayah now. So the first step is to understand, of course, the linguistic meaning of the text. And we called it in one of our lectures on Surah Al-Ra'd, we call it the signifier. So the ayah, the signs, has two components. The signifier, which is the words that we speak or hear or write, and the text. And that signifier is going to point and indicate a meaning beyond itself, and that's the signified meaning. And that's what we want to receive. So the signifier, the text itself, the linguistic meaning, or the literal meaning, let's say, will help us get to the next step, which is to, inshallah, receive the message that is sent down with this ayah, through this ayah, so that we can witness the truth of this ayah and we can confirm it. We can say Sadaqallahu al-Azim, we can make tasdeeq. So just to understand a little more about ayat, and we talked a lot about ayat when we read the huruf al-muqatta'a, the disjoined, disconnected letters at the beginning of Surah Yusuf, at the beginning of Surah Al-Ra'd. We also find them at the beginning of Surah Al-Baqara, for instance, where this ayah comes from. So I'll take the example of another ayah, an ayah that is more physical, therefore more palpable, inshallah. But we will use it as an example. So for instance, I'll take food. I'll take food because it's related to something going on in Ramadan. So food, we are told in the Quran, is an ayah. There is an ayah in the Quran that specifically asks us to consider and look at our food and contemplate on its meaning. So I can accept the meaning of the ayah, the literal meaning of the ayah, but then I would not have believed in it because I have no evidence and I don't feel anything in my heart, in my life. That information has never transformed my life. And so I would not have followed the guidance of the Quran just by understanding the meaning of the text and repeating it and saying, since it's in the Quran, it must be true. This may be a first step, but I can't stop there. If I stop there, then I have not followed the guidance of the Quran, and I have not, as we said in other lectures, I have not truly read the Quranic ayah. If it says, go and look at your food, and this is the way to meditate on your food, and I never go and actually do that, then I am repeating the words of the ayah, but I'm not truly following it and actually listening to it and actually performing it. So, in other words, to just read, to just repeat the words, to just understand the words, and to say that yes, food is an ayah, and okay then, and carry on with my life, is not iman, but it is called taqlid. It's imitation. I'm just saying because it's in the Quran, because the Quran says so, it must be true. It must be true, but I don't really know. And so this information is not going to transform my life. And my life, it's not going to be, my eating and my interaction with food is not going to be transformed into ubudiyah. So I need to confirm the truth of Quranic statements. And for that, I need to experience them for myself. And then only I can say, yes, this is a source of guidance. So how do we confirm, for instance, in this example, and when I mean confirm, I don't mean from time to time, haphazardly, something happens and my heart opens up and I see something. I mean in a systematic way. That's what the Quran teaches us, a way to look at things in a systematic way. It gives us a new perception of things that we will interact with them as ayat. So how do I confirm that food is indeed an ayah? Or actually we can say it's more than one ayah, it's ayat, because even if you take one fruit, there are so many characteristics involved in it, the shape, the colors, the smell, the taste, etc. So, in other words, when I say how do I confirm that it is an ayah, how do I confirm that it is a sign that makes its maker known to us through our Rabb's beautiful names? How do I see the rahmah, the compassion, the love, the art, the knowledge, the power that I can rely on, the healing in this area? So the first step, I explore the ayat. I can explore the ayah here, the food, through watching, touching, smelling, eating the food. And all this, if you notice, they are external. They are afaqi interaction, outer interaction, which means I perceive the apple as out there, the food, the apple, the fruit, as out there. And so it seems to me that we are separate beings. I am here, the food is there, the rest of the world is out there. The second step, I can reflect on the impact that the food, for instance, has on me. For instance, I like the shape and the colors, and how do I know I like it? Because I feel happy. So the point of reference here is inside me. My hunger, I was hungry, I ate the food, now I'm satisfied, I feel content. I appreciate the taste, I get pleasure from it. That's why I say I like the taste. And of course, the pleasure itself can become an ayah. It's an ayah within an ayah. And there are so many other things, our taste buds working, recognizing all these tastes and taking pleasure in them. But I won't go there because for each ayah, we can repeat the same process. So now the interaction with this ayah, the food, has become internal, it's inner, it's anfusi. And that's why in the Quran, when it says that the ayat are fil afaqi wa fi anfusihim, in the outer world and in themselves, it's not some are out there and some are in there. Everything that is out there, when I am aware, I realize that I interact with it through its impact in me inside. So it includes, yes, the inner feelings and emotions, but also anything that's out there actually has an impact on me inside. That's how I connect with it. So here, at this stage, I interact with the ayah as food, as something that satisfies my hunger, something which satisfies a need. And so can you see that the gap between me and the food is being slowly and gradually closed. Now we're not so separate. And actually when I am fully aware, I realize that feeling of separation from the rest of the world, from the food, was an illusion due to my ghafla, due to my state of unawareness of what's going on. I take things for granted without asking questions. So here, we're not separate anymore, we're more connected, and that the degree of connectedness is going to increase with my awareness. And what is important is we're connected through our need for the food. Or you can apply it for anything. If you have a dear friend, you are connected through something that binds you together. Our need for friendship, for attention, for love, for whatever else we can think of, for compassion, for helping each other. So the key word here for that connection is the need. It is the need that is the connector. in a way, we can say. And it is what makes me conscious of the food. I mean, food would not be food if hunger did not exist. And even when there is hunger, when I'm not hungry, the same food doesn't have the same meaning, doesn't have the same value. So the impact of the food on me is proportionate to my need for it. And this will take us to the third step, which is a step of awareness. And it's a step when I can truly grasp the meaning of that interconnectedness of all beings. I can generalize from my connection to food, my need for food, that connection is based on a need, can be generalized to everything else I can think of, starting from air and water and friends and people and even the well-being of other people. And sometimes we're not aware of it, but we can think through contrast, through the opposite. If someone who I don't even know, even a kitten, is in distress, then it disturbs my own peace and well-being. So I realized suddenly that the peace and well-being of others affects my own well-being, and that in some mysterious ways we're all interconnected. And so this interconnectedness is I start living the reality of Tawheed, that everything is one, everything comes from one source, everything indicates one single source. And so it's not only all beings, but all phenomena, everything else, including myself. That's the awareness factor, is that things are not out there, we're all one. And so I realized that in this case, the food on my plate, it may be just a piece of something in a small plate, but it's actually the fruit of the whole cosmos. And if you remember the ayah about the food, when it says فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَى طَعَامِهِ, it was in Surah Abasa 80, 28 to 32. It tells us about all the phenomena, the rain, the seasons, everything, the earth, everything that is involved in our food growing out of the earth. And so we realize that it may be small, but it is the fruit of the whole cosmos. And so not only it becomes invaluable, very precious, but also it becomes an ayah. It starts speaking that its maker can only be the maker of the whole cosmos. And so I understand that the one who is feeding me with that food in my plate is my Rabb, the Rabb of the Rabbul Alameen. And I'll cut short here. I won't mention, of course, the digestion process, and you can add whatever you want. And the more you add, the more we are in awe, and we make sajda before this beautiful generosity and hospitality of our Rabb for us. And how much honored we are here on earth. And so this way I get to consciously witness the comprehensive rububiyyah, this rububiyyah that includes everything in it, through the precious and extremely valuable. The more you think about it, actually, the worth of the food in my plate is the whole cosmos. It's not what I paid for at the store. And it's such a precious and valuable gift. And I'm being fed, and I'm being provided for. And I get to feel very deep the gratitude to my Rabb. It's a gratitude with joy, because it's done in such a compassionate way, in such an honoring way, in such a beautiful way. So you get, being grateful becomes a joy, it's an honor. being grateful to my Rabb, praise him, praise his generosity, his munificence, his compassion, his love, his hospitality. And at this point, the ayah, which in this case is food, would have revealed its messages to me, at least some of its messages. And remember, the ayah points to messages. It is the words themselves are not the message. So that's why we say it says in the Quran that if the oceans and everything was if the trees were pens and the oceans were ink, they would not exhaust Allah's words, because the meanings are endless, and the degrees of those meanings are endless, and the perspectives we have to those same meanings are endless. However, that's why the words themselves are, or the text itself, is the sign, like the signpost, like the map. It is pointing to something beyond itself, to an infinite realm of beautiful names, beautiful attributes of God. We realize that what this ayah is telling me, the message sent down through it, is that my Rabb is generous, he's compassionate, he's all-knowing, he has power over all things, and you can go on and on and on, praise him. So back to our Quranic ayah, which is today, in Surah al-Baqara, ayah 185, it says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه. And I read until here because why are we reading now this ayah? Because we want to know how to confirm the truth of this ayah. And so it says it was the month of Ramadan. It was in the month of Ramadan that the Quran was sent down as guidance for humankind, with clear evidence of that guidance, and as the criterion by which to discern the true from the false. Hence, whoever of you lives to see this month, let him fast throughout it. You may have realized that I have not recited the whole ayah yet, because we may not have the time to go through all of it. I don't want to recite it and just learn the literal meaning, which you can get, alhamdulillah, it's accessible everywhere. What we want to do here is how to proceed, how to follow the guidance of this ayah. And so we will do as much as we can, and then the same process can be used for the rest of the ayah, and inshallah for other ayahs as well. And alhamdulillah, there is plenty of very good information out there on the linguistic meanings of the text. They're all available, and now because of the internet and everything, they're even more accessible. But at Receiving Nur, it's more we are focused on receiving the message and learning how to receive the message conveyed through the linguistic meanings. So we are interested in the signifier for the sake of the signified, not for its own sake. That's what an ayah is. It's not important in itself. It is sacred and important because of what it points to. So inshallah, we'll focus on that part, on the linguistic meaning, only to the extent it helps us to get to the next step, which is the signified meanings, the Quran that is being sent down. Inshallah. And that message that is sent down in the Quran, it defines itself again and again, and we've seen how it is Rahmah in Surah Al-Ra'd, in Surah Yusuf, alayhum as-salam, Surah alayhi salam, sorry. So it is sent as rahmah to whom? It says, for instance, to and glad tidings, good news to whom? To those who surrender themselves, al-Muslimin. To those with the right intention, the right attitude, the right stance. So to understand the world is necessary, but it is not sufficient. And an example that comes to my mind always is an Orientalist could be studying the Quranic text, but it doesn't mean he's reading it or listening to the Quran. He's just studying the text as any text. So once we become aware of a message, any message, and we feel the possibility of truth in it, that's what surrendering is. We start from a place of good intention, of trust. However, if at the end nothing comes up, then eventually we may give up. But alhamdulillah, so far, all those who traveled the path of following the Quran have been more and more and more amazed and more enlightened and transformed by its guidance, alhamdulillah. And so what do? We immediately put it in practice? That's what matters. Because when we put it in practice, then, inshallah, it unfolds its secrets to us. It reveals itself to us. Then the light of that revelation will transform us and our lives. So when we actually follow the guidance of the Quran, not only read the text, and when we live accordingly, for instance, living accordingly in that ayah when it says, look at your food, is to actually go and look at our food, then we become more and more likely to receive the signified messages that are sent down not only through the text, but through our living the text. Because the ayah, for instance, we said again and again, the ayah that says, go and look at your food, is saying that the message is going to get to you, we'll send it through your interaction with the food. So if I never go and contemplate on the meaning of my relationship with the food and what it means to me and what's being sent to me together with the food by means of that food, then just by listening and reading the text, I'm not going to go anywhere. It's like I have a treasure map. The Quranic ayah is like the treasure map. And life is like the territory. So I'm going to take that map and actually go and look for the treasure. And the treasure is the most beautiful names of God. It's the healing that comes with it. It's the joy that comes with it. It's the safety and the security and finding that point of support, finding that eternity within mortality. All those things are the treasure. And those beautiful names are also a treasure, because just think of them as the reality and basis of everything good and beautiful, everything we seek in life, everything we are attached to, everything we long for, is ultimately, its source is with God. So we have the map, and if I know the map very well, but I never go and actually walk the walk and actually look for the treasure, if I never go and actually eat the food and in the way I am instructed in the Quranic ayah, that Quranic ayah will remain a map. That's it. It will never reveal its meanings to me, because it's saying, go and actually do it. Then you will see what I'm talking about. And the key, so it's important that I use the map and actually look for the treasure, otherwise it's useless. And the key to the treasure chest is our intention, our awareness, our stand. Like the human factor is the key there. So when our heart, our insight, our basira are not open, we will not find the treasure of the divine names. The treasure chest won't open up to us. It's like the keys, the special riddle words, the special words that you say. I don't remember what was in the 1001 Nights, there was a special word, and I don't remember what it was now. So we will see that the Quranic words, the text, may be understood correctly, but it will remain, we may remain blind to it. It may remain closed to us, but it's not closed actually. It's closed because I am not ready to receive it. I am blind to its light, to its message. And that's why in the Quran it says, it's not the eyes that are blind, but it's the hearts that are in the breasts which are blind. إنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. So we have to be careful about that. The human factor is the decisive factor in the receiving of the messages sent down through the texts, through the ayat in the Quran and in the creation. And that is why the same speech, we are told in the Quran, may cause some of us to be guided and some others to go astray. يضل به كثيرا ويهدي به كثيرا وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين. So it says in the Quran, he causes many to go astray with it and with the same message. And he guides many with it. But he only causes to go astray the deviators, those who forsake the path. And so here, what is this path? And the first thing is to have the intention to follow the path, to the intention to actually go beyond the text. And that's why, just because we understand the literal meaning of a Quranic passage, even if we understand it correctly, doesn't mean that we actually receive the message. So this process has two main components. The broadcasting, and that's being done through the Quranic text as well as through the creational ayat, through creation, through life. And everything is fine with the broadcasting. Everything is perfect because it has no human interference. And there is the receiving. And the receiving, on the receiving side, there is a receiver. And the receiver is any one of us. And the receiver has to work in order to receive it. At least has to surrender, as it says in the Quran. To surrender means not to resist it. Not to clean up all obstacles, to make sure there are no obstacles to receive the message. And there are, of course, degrees of receptions. So if we go back to the food example, we can see the food, but never eat it. We can eat it, but never contemplate on its transcendental meanings. We may never actually interact with it as an ayah, and so we never see that it is speaking to us about its Rabb, about its creator, about our Rabb, both of us, because we're a team when we are eating food. And so in which case we will not receive the messages of the divine name broadcasted through the food, the ayah of the food. And so we interact with it only as a physical entity, physical being. And in the same way, when we are not aware what an ayah is truly, then we tend to think that the Quran is only what we see, the writing or the hearing, the recited words. Whereas that is only the tip of the iceberg, only the map, only the signpost pointing beyond itself to the infinite عالم الغيب, عالم الأسماء الحسنى, the eternal and beautiful divine names. And the difference, what makes the difference between me being aware of the food as an ayah, so I interact with its physicality, but I read the meaning in it. The physical being is like writing, it's like speech. It is conveying a meaning. And so the Quranic text or words, if it's recited, when I'm hearing them, when I'm listening, they are also conveying a meaning that is beyond themselves. The difference between getting stuck in the text and using the text as a map or as a sign, as an ayah to go beyond is the human factor, is my awareness. That's the key in receiving the message. The best message is being broadcasted fine. So it's all about receiving. How do I receive? Actually, that's where Receiving Nur came from. When we were looking for a name, we were thinking, what are we really doing here? And we said, Rahman, everything is being given in abundance and freely. It's only about us being open to receiving it or not. And that's how we chose that name, inshallah, as a prayer to remind ourselves. So the only variable in this perfect equation, if we can see it as an equation, we have the Quran, Quranic ayat, the creational ayat, our life, and we have the human awareness, the human openness to receive. The human openness is the only variable. The others are all constantly constant. And that's how the cycle of Tanzil is completed. So you guess that Allah, in His infinite rahmah, in His infinite compassion and mercy, is going to teach us the easiest way to get ready to benefit from Tanzil al-Quran, which is the intended result in ayah 2185. And that's why in the same ayah, right after it says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. God wants ease for you. He does not want hardship for you. Because when we read the ayah superficially, and when we think it's about fasting a whole month, you think, where is the easiness in this? Like fasting the whole month? This is not easy at all. But that's because I am reading my own understanding into the ayah instead of following it and listening to it, listening to its guidance. And so what is special about the month of Ramadan? That God describes it as the month in which the Quran is sent down, which in other words means it's the month when the Quran is more likely to be received. What is the variable? I mean, the Quran is sent all the time. It's likely to be received all the time, but there is one thing that changes during the month of Ramadan, and that's the human factor. It's fasting. And so in the same ayah, it says we are enjoined right after to fast the whole month. And now it becomes so beautiful and so meaningful. So it says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه. It was in the month of Ramadan that the Quran was sent down as guidance for humankind, with clear evidence of that guidance and as the criterion of true and false. Hence, whoever of you lives to see this month, let him fast throughout it. Let him fast the whole month. It's in the beginning, it may seem like, what is it to do? Like, the Quran is being sent down, it is guidance, so therefore go and fast. Now it becomes clear that it's because fasting prepares us to receive the message of the Quran when it is sent down. And so we are more likely to benefit from its guidance and to confirm through our living that message and that guidance that yes, indeed, the Quran is being sent down. And remember that the Quran is described as in Surah al-Waqi'ah, which is 5680, as تنزيل من رب العالمين. And here it says شهر رمضان الذي أنزل. It's a tanzil. Tanzil is a sending down. It's a process, an ongoing process. It's in the Arabic language, it's a masdar. Masdar is a gerund, an ing form of nazzala, to send down. So the Quran, we are told in 5680, is an ongoing process of sending down. From whom? Rabbul Alameen, the Rabb of all worlds, is sending down the Quran. So it is not a static physical book. It is not a codex. The physical book is like a memo of the or the recited words are the signifiers to what is sent down through it. And that's why just because we have the whole text, whether it's sitting in my shelf or I have it in audio, or even if I memorized it by heart, at least we all memorize some passages from the Quran, and you know that when we say the Quran, it does not always refer to the whole body of ayahs, because it was called Quran at the very beginning when there was only one ayah. So the Quran is the process of sending, the address that God, Rabbul Alameen, is addressing us. And that's why, just because I have it all there, it doesn't mean that it has been, or I have been blessed with the message of the Quran yet. It took 23 years for the tanzil of the message to the beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ himself. So what is it that happens when we fast that makes it easier for us to receive the message of the Quran and confirm that yes, it is indeed sent down during the month of Ramadan? This is what we want to explore briefly, because I'm sure you have heard and read lots of the wisdoms of the month of Ramadan. It's just like, how are we going to use that information in a way that is transformative? So one of the things that we can think of is that when we fast, we're more likely to witness rububiyyah in the world. Because when we're fasting in Ramadan, then we realize the value of everything around us. We realize that many things that we take for granted, including food and water, they're actually invaluable gifts. And that they are not as cheap as we think. Their value is not what we paid for them at the store. That in order for that food to be there in my plate, the sun, the rotation of the earth, the rain, the soil, the air, everything that I can think of. And they're all being brought together in harmony. They're all being interacted in order is needed for that food to be there in front of me. So we realize that the extent of the generosity of our Rabb, and how glorious He is, and how everything has been made like a feast for us, a table like for us, because it's not only food, but even the food itself, when you look at the table, it's like feast for the eyes, for the smell, for not only for the stomach. And so it shows the divine art, His generosity, His compassion, His mercy, His being the helper, the sustainer. And then we realize that how often we forget to respond in an appropriate way to this glorious, awesome, magnificent gifts. And because we forget, we don't feel satisfied. We're looking for something else always, when actually what we're looking for is right there in front of our eyes. So in Ramadan, when we're fasting, we're more acutely aware of our needs. We're more in touch with our needs. We cannot ignore them. We cannot avoid them. We cannot pretend they're not there. And then we're more likely to wake up to a greater consciousness, a greater awareness of this magnificent, sustaining, this rububiyyah that we see in ourselves and all around us. And so we're also more likely to acknowledge our gratitude to Him with joy, with praise. And so in this way, Ramadan fast enhances our gratitude. It brings it to a new level, a deeper level of awareness, of joy, it becomes our way of living, a lifestyle. And it also, solidify is not there, strengthen our connection to our Rabb. And so we don't feel like orphans, aliens in this world, because through that connection, we always feel like we have a Rabb. We are guests, and we're not any guests. We're very special VIP guests here on Earth, and we all have that need for that special connection, that special attention that only Rabbul Alameen can satisfy. And so it is time when we recognize the real gifter, the real giver of the gifts, the real owner of the gifts, let's say. And so, although fasting has many levels, we fast from food, from drink, from harmful thoughts, from harmful emotions and all that, up to fasting from shirk. People talked about fasting from shirk. Here, let's stay at the common understanding of fasting from food and drink, and even at that level, if we do it properly, if we do it with the right consciousness, it opens endless doors. It's just like the world becomes much, much bigger than we think when we are in ghafla. Because the physicality becomes like something, speech itself, life, everything is speaking about something that is eternal, something that is infinite. So that's something that is just like the heart, what the heart longs for, what we call paradise maybe. So if we think of fasting as restraining from eating and drinking, when we are forbidden to eat until Maghrib time, then we realized that what we thought was ours is not really ours. I'm still at home, sitting at home. Um, on the table is the food that I bought with what I think is my money, that I cooked with my own hand. That's what I think when I'm in a ghafla. And suddenly it says, I become aware that even a minute before, I cannot touch it and eat it. And suddenly, if I have the intention to make this a means for coming to a new awareness, then I realize that why is it so? What's the wisdom in this? And I realize because this is a gift. Because even in my own home, I am a guest. Isn't that great? You're a guest, so you don't have to be invited for iftar to be a guest. During Ramadan, we realize that we are always guests. And then we realize that the food there is a gift. And the money that was given was a gift. And the hands and the health and the life that I used to cook it is a gift. And of course, there are all the laws of how it cooks and everything, which I won't mention. And so we realize that it's not only the gifts out there, but our lives even are the property of another. Every breath is a gift. And so Ramadan brings a new form of discipline, a new training of the mind, a new training of training us to perceive the world and ourselves in a new way. And so when I consider the food that I bought, or that I thought I bought, I don't look at it in the same way anymore. Even the I don't want to say the lowliest, but like things that we don't give much importance to become so something that you just stop and marvel at. Subhanallah. And so this concrete realization, this transformation that's happening makes me realize how narrow, how I won't say completely meaningless, but like how darkish, how devoid of light and devoid of joy my everyday life in Ghafla is. And it makes me renew my commitment to live a life of awareness, of conscious, of perceiving everything around me consciously as ayat, interacting with them in a different way. And this process also affects how, or transforms how I see myself. I become more aware of who I am really. And so we realize that we often forget. And I start like almost like seeing myself, like reminiscing what I do normally in everyday life when I'm not in that state of fasting, in that state of acute awareness, of enhanced awareness, when I'm really aware of my needs and who I am. And I start like almost seeing myself on a screen in a movie when I'm in a state of ghafla, and how I live as though I were independent of God. And now it becomes the opportunity during the fast in Ramadan to realize how fully dependent, utterly dependent. Of course, this awareness is going to increase, and that utterly and fully is going to deepen and deepen. And we realize that we're utterly dependent on God sustaining our life and our very breathing, instant by instant. And believe me, this is very, very relaxing, because otherwise we want to shoulder the burden of life. We're so anxious and so worried about controlling events in our life. We don't know what's going on. We can't predict the future. But now we're just like kids. Everything is being taken care of, and we know that it is being taken care of in the best way, because how do I know that very feeling to want the best in everything is given to me? My Rabb gave it to me to make me appreciate that whatever he does is always the best. Subhanallah. So it becomes like life is just such a beautiful journey. Even when it looks like hardship, someone else is taking care of it. My Rabb is in charge. Alhamdulillah. So realizing my need, realizing my weakness is not a wound anymore. My vulnerability is not something I want to hide from myself and from others, not something I want to avoid, but it becomes actually my asset, because it's through my needs that I enjoy everything. It's through my hunger that food is so pleasurable. So when in Ramadan we realize more profoundly that we are not self-sufficient and not immortal, as we tend to think when we are in ghafla, but this is good news, because when we are in ghafla, to be self-sufficient, to know that you are self-sufficient and not immortal, is very scary and very painful, because I have no connection with the source of immortality, with the source of self-sufficiency. So although we realize that we're utterly weak, that we're mortal like everything else around us, that everything is perishing, it's okay. I know that it's okay. And actually it is in that ephemerality, in that transience, as we reflected on those ayats in May, I think, in our lecture in May, about the meaning of everything being transient, is that they are ayat pointing to eternity, to eternal meanings, to beautiful meanings, to the beautiful divine names. And so I don't run away and try to forget that everything is transient, including myself, including my youth, including whatever I value, because they may go, but like the source of all what I value is there, and that's guaranteed. Bi-idhnillah. And so we start living life accordingly, with authenticity, with integrity, because that, when we pretend as though everything is fine when it's not, as though everything is, as though we were staying here forever when it's not, there is no integrity in that lifestyle, in that perception of the world. But the more authentic we become, the more our integrity is going to increase towards ourselves and towards the rest of the world. Because when I live in this way, then I'm more likely to empathize with others. I'm more likely to connect with others as vulnerable beings like me, whether human beings or all fellow created beings. And so in that humility, I have more compassion, more empathy, and it becomes a joy to share the divine gifts and blessings with others, especially those in need. Because I live in a world of abundance, I am connected to the source of abundance. And so in this state, to live for the hereafter becomes not only easy, but like the way of living. That's my way of living. And it becomes also healing and a source of deep inner and outer, actually, peace and joy. That's the joy and the peace of the muhsin who lives in the awareness, as though he sees God with that awareness. And so Ramadan fast is a time for spiritual growth, time to feed the heart and the spirit, with these meanings, and these meanings are the meaning of Quranic guidance. So when we get a better perspective of the proportions of our needs, because normally when we're in a state of ghafla, we are completely focused on the physical. Even the emotional, we think it's going to come from the physical, but actually it's the other way around. The physical is there to serve the spiritual. So we get a proportion of how to divide our time and our attention to our needs. And we realize that our spiritual needs are the most important. Accordingly, our emotional health is going to be. When I am connected to my Rabb in this way, then, for instance, transience, my mortality, my weakness is not going to affect me in the same way. And so the physical world is going, my connection to an interaction and relationship with the physical world is going to be very different, as ayats, as gifts. It's not like they're not going to be important. They're actually going to be more sacred and more valuable. But they are going to be at my service. They have been created to guide me, to transform my life, to enlighten my life. And so I get a proportion of things and where to focus on. And this state of being in the world itself is a tanzil of the meaning of the Quranic guidance. If you realize all the things that have been saying, all the wisdoms of fasting during Ramadan are actually, you can find an area for every one of them. So they are actually something that a light from the Quranic guidance itself. And it prepares us to receive more of those beautiful, more of those healing Quranic messages, inshallah. So as I always remind myself primarily is that we do not ourselves understand the ayats. They speak to us when we listen to them. So the message is revealed to us. It is gifted to us. We are recipients, not only the Quranic messages, but of all blessings. Even when we think we are very active. The struggle, we think we are the agents because of the struggle, but the struggle is only our perception. It's not the fact. The fact is that everything is given. And we will see that it is given, it can be given, it can be received without struggle if we have the right perception and the right awareness, inshallah. So then, in that state of fasting, you see that fasting from food and drink leads us actually to fasting from shirk, fasting from the illusion of ghafla. And so we're more likely to receive the message. And that's why it says, go and fast. And then you will understand what I'm saying. And so now we come back and we confirm in our hearts the meaning of these beautiful ayats. And I'll end with ayah 185 and 186. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخرى يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعاني فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون. Just such beautiful ayats, mashallah. But we didn't get, we don't have the time to go over all of them. But inshallah, you can use the information about the literal meaning and inshallah follow its guidance. So it was in the month of Ramadan that the Quran was sent down as guidance for humankind with clear evidence of that guidance and as the criterion of true and false. Hence, whoever of you lives to see this month, let him fast throughout it. And whosoever of you is ill or on a journey, let him fast the same number of other days. God wants ease for you. He does not want hardship for you. And He wants that you complete the period required and that you proclaim God's greatness, tukabbiruh, Allahu Akbar, for having guided you so that you may be thankful. And when my servants ask you about me, behold, I am near. I respond immediately to the one call of him who calls me. Whenever he calls me, let them then try to respond unto me and believe in me so that they might be rightly guided. Ramadan Mubarak, inshallah, again to all of us. May Allah shower His blessings and barakah in this blessed month.
Assalamu alaikum. We thank Sister Yamina, even though I think she doesn't hear us at this point. Does anyone want to share anything that either you felt was very interesting and important, or if you want to raise any questions, we can have some discussion at this point.
Yeah, Isra.
Oh, Yamina is back.
I'm hoping that
Yamina
would realize and come back.
Yeah, Yamina is here. I see her. Yeah, she's back. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much, Sister Yamina. We had a little bit technical challenges this time.
Should I end with ayah 185 and 186? شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه
Okay, Sister Yamina. Thank you very much for the beautiful discourse. And now the floor is open for any questions or comments.
I still feel, Yamina, that, Ramadan for me is still a big mystery. Like I understand that, like how we're supposed to be more vigilant, more aware of the signs in Ramadan. But the application of it in Ramadan, like it seems like from the ayah 185 to 186, it takes you from being aware of the ayahs that are coming down as guidance, hudan linnas, and then again bayinat min al-huda, and and this is done. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. It's done to make it easy for us. So opposite to what we think about, like difficulty of fasting, and indeed we need to continue and be thankful. So like put God ahead of everything. Be thankful for His guidance, and then it takes us to the next one, which is if when إذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعاني. Like it takes us to this very to the closeness, to this kind of closeness. It's interesting that for me that this ayah about closeness, being very close to God, comes right after the ayah that speaks about Ramadan. So they must be related. It must be that fasting brings us to that kind of closeness. I guess my struggle is that when I'm in the day, like, at the beginning of Ramadan, I'm connecting with my vulnerability. And then as I get used to not fasting, then I'm not feeling that vulnerability anymore. And then I keep asking myself, what am I doing that's so special that this month, the thawb of this month is beyond, like God says, like fasting, everyone is for, everything Bani Adam does is for him, except for us, except fasting, it's for God, for me, and I reward it beyond, like, what is expected. So I keep asking, what am I doing that's very special? Like, what am I doing in fasting that is very special? I keep thinking, if I read Quran, okay, that is special. When I feel weakness, trying to connect it and see that it's special, but I don't see what I'm doing the rest of the day that makes this month very, very special. So I think I need some help, reflections from everyone. And maybe, Yamina, can we keep the theme of this month, Ramadan, all about Ramadan? Ramadan comes once a year, so if that's not a burden to ask, maybe that could help. Jazakallah khair.
As far as the last request is concerned, it really depends on everyone, not only me. If everyone agrees with that, we can do that, inshallah. So, Alia, when you were talking, you said we're supposed to be aware. We need to be thankful, and we need to put God before everything. And the whole thing here is that it's not, if we keep speaking this language, we're just perpetuating what we've been doing so far. And the difference is that it is not only about what we do, but also how we do it. And that how is related to my awareness. If when I feel my hunger, I can just pass by it. I say I'm hungry and never stop there. But that hunger is calling me. It is an ayah. It's speaking to me. And so it's calling me to, at least, if I make the intention to live with that awareness, then I will just stop. The signs are going to take me where I want. Like, you have a GPS, you have signs on the road. I have to intend to start a journey. And so when I start the journey, there is hunger. So I stop. What is this? What is it telling me? What is this hunger? And then, this is interesting, like hunger, like suddenly I become in need of something outside of me. It is a mystery. It is a mystery, as you said. It's not only Ramadan that's a mystery. When we stop and think about it, everything is a mystery. But we take them for granted because we name them and pass as though we understood. And I said, hunger, what is this? And then when in the evening I sit and like wait for that water looks like, oh, the most beautiful thing. And it's almost like we're conversing with it. We become friends. Like that's a special, when you sit and start reflecting on how you feel like a special connection with this water, just like beautiful, especially it's like it's hot. It's not only when we drink it, when you shower. What is this? What's going on? And what you feel is beyond the water. You feel something that you start getting in touch with yourself, with the divine names. That's how we taste and experience the divine names. Now, during the month of Ramadan, because we're fasting, it becomes easy. However, it is not guaranteed. It depends on my intention. Do I intend to stop and surrender? Surrender to the fact that I'm hungry. Surrender to the fact that I'm needy. Because usually we try to overlook them because we're not comfortable with it. It's more than discomfort. We don't want to remain hungry. Either we are busy with something, or if we're not busy, immediately, as soon as we feel a little bit hungry, we put something in our mouth, not to feel it. And so we never listen to its message. But the moment you hear that hunger, the food, everything is a message, it is divine speech, God speaks through the Quran as well as through creation. And then you say, just a second, what is going on? Even if it is not comfortable, even if it is, I'll stay bear with it a little, be patient. And usually things that are new are uncomfortable, even if eventually it will take us to a beautiful place. Just going on a journey is not so comfortable. But What if they tell you you're going on a journey, you're going to a beautiful place? Then isn't it worth taking the risk of being a little bit uncomfortable during the journey, but getting somewhere? At least do something different from what we've been doing so far. Unless you're satisfied with your life, then it's okay. And you also mentioned after Ramadan. After Ramadan is if I can catch that frequency, if I can catch that level of awareness, that level of alignment with that ayat, that I start, you pick up on a language, you start picking up on the language of the ayat in the creation, you start aligning with their frequencies, we start understanding them, we start loving them, we start interacting with them, we start making friends with them, then that, if we do it well enough, inshallah, we will have enough momentum to carry on after Ramadan, because it's not enough to get to hear what they're saying. If we don't have enough momentum, when you throw a ball, if you don't throw it fast enough, very quickly it's going to stop. So that momentum, and that's why the 10 last days of Ramadan, we're supposed to be in full worship mode, full awareness mode, so that after that, we have more momentum to maintain that level of awareness. But that needs commitment from the beginning to the end. We commit to small things, to any project. If you have a career, if you're working somewhere, even if it's another career, you're just doing any work, we commit to being there at a certain time, doing a certain thing in a certain way. And like everything else, this also needs that commitment. And as we get used to it, it will get easier and easier, inshallah. Even when we go out of that state of being, it becomes easier to remember and get back in, inshallah. Which is actually getting back in is just letting go of the illusions, letting go of our assumptions about the world, letting go of what we think we know, and just surrender, inshallah.
Thank you, Yamina. I think I think it's the connection that that I'm still struggling with, which is using fasting as a tool to be more aware, and then realizing how valuable this is in the eyes of God, that he actually does this whole physical activity that the whole world shares in to help us attain this state, as if God's like really out of his mercy saying, I know this is difficult for you, so I'm gonna make it a universal activity where everyone shares in, so that you all together can encourage each other to be in this state.
Can I give you a clue here? We know the answers because they are written there in the Quran, right? Those answers, let's not assume that we actually live them, that we actually know what they mean, but let them be our promise, the thing that lures us into actually committing to this journey. You see what I mean? There is a promise of something beautiful. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's beautiful. So rather than talking about it, let's start from the beginning. Let's start with the fasting. And let's stop saying, but I was supposed to feel this, I was supposed to do this. No. Let's start with the first step. Like, I was supposed to go through Connecticut to go to Boston. Why am I going through, I don't know, there might be another state on the way, Rhode Island or something. Just stop. Just go right now. You are in Virginia. Just start moving north.
Keep driving.
Sorry?
You mean keep driving?
Yeah, keep driving. Like, don't worry about what will happen. What will I go through this or that? What will I see there? But they said you go through this one. Okay, when you come there, you will. If you don't go through it, then you stop and say, "Am I going in the wrong way?" But we talked enough about the road and the way and everything. Let's now move. Let's fast. So we're not supposed to be thankful. When we fast in the right way, we will
So I
find
like,
we won't be able to resist being thankful. We will enjoy being thankful. Being thankful will be our state of being, will be who we are. It's not like but now I have to be thankful. It doesn't happen like that. It's like someone is getting married and says, "Oh, when I get married, I'm supposed to be happy." You are happy or you are not. And if you're not happy, maybe you
right now.
should get into
Yes.
this marriage. That's it, full stop.
So you gave us an activity now, Yamina. This is an activity, like the way I understand this activity is say, go right now and make dua with these things that are given to us. So let's say, so شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. So maybe our dua will be, Ya Allah, please make the Quran my guidance. Ya Allah, please make. So then, as you are connecting, making this dua, and then يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Then you can say, Allah, make this month our yusra, a way to find you in an easy way. Make each of them your dua. So then our dua will be those things that are supposed to be given to us. Then our dua be, Allah, please give them to us. Is that what you're saying?
So the first guidance, it says, فَلْيَصُمْ, go and fast the whole month. So I go. Because when it comes to the Quran being sent down, I can't send it down. I can only receive it when it is sent down. So I say, okay, it is sent down. It says, go and fast. I can do this. Let me go and fast. And when I start truly fasting, then as a conscious following of guidance, then that fasting itself is part of the ayah. It is Quranic guidance being revealed to me, being sent to me, right? It says فَلْيَصُمْ. It's part of the ayah. So I'll start realizing that, oh yes, this is it. This is guidance. This is when it says bayinat. Oh, the evidence is within it. I will find plenty of evidence. We have to start somewhere. We can't just talk about it. Inshallah. Thank you, Alia, for the clarifications.
So Yamina, Sister Yamina, if I understand you, you're suggesting that we just experienced it, having discussed it. Now go through the fast, being open and just go through it, and we will feel the vulnerability, we will feel the hunger, we will feel how fragile we are, how needy and dependent we are, and whatever else comes in, it doesn't have to be worded. Like, we may not be able to word it, but if with these things that we have already discussed, so there is an intellectual part to it, we have already discussed, but then after having done, there is a territory that you just cannot map intellectually anymore. That there's, I don't mean to sound anti-intellectual here. All I'm saying is that as we go through it, we'll go through the experience, and the whole month, maybe it's one word, one sentence, and we look back and say, wow, I really felt vulnerable and dependent on my Creator. But this is it, like the whole 30 days times 24 hours, this is it, like this one sentence. Yeah, it looks very short and easy in statement, but as we go through every moment, every hour of that Ramadan, we are experiencing something that is hard to word, and it's okay if we can't word it. That journey, that struggle, I get used to fasting, but then I remember, wow, I was very thirsty by the 20th day, breaking the fast. All that interplay of emotions and feelings and forgetting and remembering, all that journey, even though we can't add a new sentence to what we had discussed intellectually, it is still a very worthwhile journey. And let's not suspect that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not only worthwhile, but it is necessary. Like the first step, what we're doing right now is necessary. However, it's not sufficient. It's only, we're talking about it in order to go and actually take the journey, actually have the experience. And when you said, you know, it could be just one sentence or one ayah, but that ayah, it's because in the beginning, why vulnerability is so painful? Because in the beginning, we're going to realize that I'm so dependent on some things that I usually don't even consider as valuable. I'm so dependent on water, on a glass of water. I'm so dependent on a piece of food. But then through this journey, I will realize that I'm so dependent on the rub of the food, the rub of the water. So it's a journey from the finite to the infinite. It's a great journey. It's a journey of the soul. It's a journey of the heart. It's a journey of liberation. It's a journey of emancipation from all those little things here in the world. When I'm in ghafla, I think I am bound and limited by them, that I'm in need of them. And it's so scary and so burdening for the ruh, and then suddenly you say لِتُكَبِّرُوهُ Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than everything. All of this are His servants, His ayahs, His gifts to me. Suddenly you perceive the world and yourself in a completely new light, and it becomes just it's a from a point of view, it's a journey of enlightenment. It's a journey of freedom. It's a journey of finding one's value, one's of reestablishing our connection with God, finding our status as Khalifa, the representative of God on earth, being the VIP guests of God on earth. It's a magnificent journey. It's not just like, oh, a journey, a small journey. We're going to spend the whole month on this. It's worth spending all our life on this.
So it's interesting, Yamina, because like the way you have interpreted وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا Allah, like the orders in this verse is فَلْيَصُمْهُ, it's like go fast, وَلْتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ, complete the 30 days, and the other order is, third order is وَلْتُكَبِّرُوا Allah, and then after that, وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ is not given as an order. It's like, you know, hopefully you'll be grateful at the end. So تُكَبِّرُوا, I've always thought about it. تُكَبِّرُوا is like, you know, put God before you as, you know, as the higher entity. So when I have the choice of doing, you know, something that will please him, something that will not please him, I will like, my way of takbir to Allah is like saying, no, God is the greatest, and, you know, and then like, you know, let alone things that God does not want me to do, and like go for the second choice or the choice that He wants me to do. But here what you're saying is that also there's the other aspect of it, well, to kabbirullah, that realize how with your fasting and with this new awareness that God is the greatest, like, you know, that He is in control of your inside world and your outside world, and they all are in harmony together. And then you're in your, you know, and when you do that, then it guides you to this thankfulness. And it says وَتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. So like, you know, so like, you know, to maybe you can explain this. What is لِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُم? Like, it's not like, it doesn't say to be thankful to God for guiding you. It say no, to realize God is the greatest through His guidance to you, and then maybe you'll be thankful. Can you comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, the second part, that's what it means, that we proclaim His greatness for having guided us to this new awareness, to realize that He is great. It's not like I'm forcing myself to put Him before me. It's like that is the reality. It's like someone gives you a food and you say, I'm supposed to like it because my mother baked this cake. No, you like the cake. She baked the cake the way that you like it. So it's not like I'm doing her a favor. No, I really like it. And I really like it, but I say, oh, but I have to like it and to smile and to say it's very nice so that, she's happy with it. I mean, it's an example, of course, it doesn't cover everything, but just to show that this is something organic. It comes from within that state of being, that awareness. It's not like I'm not there, but I pretend to be there. I pretend that God is before me. Let's do it this way. But actually in my heart or something, I don't feel the greatness. Here is, I feel the greatness. Whatever I do, Allah is great. I do it with that awareness. And He is great whether I realize it or not. The realization is going to change my life, to transform my life. Wallahu ghaniyun. Antum al-fuqara Allah. You are the one who needs God. God does not need you. I realized my need for Him. And I realized that through that need, I get to enjoy all the privileges that I've been gifted with. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So there is like this realization that I am so thankful that He is my guide, that I realize that this is, that through being guided, my, the ability to realize that these things are here to guide me is my cause to realize that there is the greatness of my Rabbi who is like planning all of these things to guide me, and that takes me to thankfulness. I guess that's what I'm understanding that it means.
Inshallah.
So let's take a vote about wanting to stick with the Ramadan topic after the questions. Isra, can we do that? And I'll stop asking questions now.
Thank you very much, Ali, for your question that opened up really further profound moments in our meeting today. Thank you, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, if you can send me an email or text from using the chat box about the Ramadan theme. It's, to me, like it's me personally, I would think continuing with the Quran is beautiful as well, because we will be reading the Quran with a fasting soul within Ramadan. So I think that's also beautiful. Personally, that's how I feel. But let's see. I mean, we can update you. Just feel free to let me know by chat or send me an email whether we would like to continue to study the Quran. There were some sisters who were really interested in studying the Quran together today. So
since it's the month of the Quran and the fasting, inshallah, we will do it and remind each other about it, inshallah.
Are there any comments or questions about today's topic? All right, thank you very much for joining us, and may it be a blessed Ramadan for all of us. May we really be transformed through the Quran, through the Ramadan and beyond, inshallah. And join us next week again at the same time. Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
جزاك الله خير يمينة، جزاك الله خير إسراء، جزاك الله خير.
جزاك الله خير.